Okay. All right. Okay. I had to reinstall a lot of shit because from Saturday's podcast and today's podcast, I had to. I put new hard drives, SSD hard drives, in my PC, so uh, I had to reinstall everything. So the settings that would normally just be saved, and I could just um, just do it. Can't really just do it, you know.
Yeah.
So but anyway, let's get it started. Hello, it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters. Um, so let's do this. Starting with, let's have everyone introduce themselves. Go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself.
Kanoshi Abominito, and this year is almost over. We are at the last month of 2020. For a lot of people, it was a very terrible year. For
I would
me,
say for
it
most
wasn't
people,
really that bad.
it's been a shitty year. Because even if you weren't affected directly by 2020, you were affected indirectly by 2020.
Everybody was affected by this year in some way, shape, or form.
And this has not been a good year. You know, like this is the year where we can, if we have children, we can tell them, yeah, this was a shit year.
Yeah, yeah.
This was a shit year. If anyone tells you 2020 was a great year for them, I'm gonna be like, what rock were you hiding under, and can I join you?
Yeah. It was a good year to hide under a rock, you know?
That's what I'm saying. If you were hiding under a rock, it's a good year. But if you didn't have a rock or a cave or a bunker, it was not a good year. So as you can see, I'm using a different background. Um, because basically when I upgraded my PC I upgraded my two hard drives because I originally had like a 240 gig SSD and a terabyte like standard hard disk drive, and I updated to two SSD drives that were 89.99 SanDisk SSDs, and I was like, oh, that's pretty nice. And so I upgraded, and it was great. It was great, but it meant that I had to reinstall everything. So there were some technical difficulties because I was still thinking, like, just from force of habit, that everything was together, but it wasn't. So um, let's get to it. Um, so we have some awesome topics today's podcast. Um, some really good shit on here. So our first topic is gaming tropes that need to die. We all know of some gaming tropes that need to die. Things like amnesiac main characters, nonsensical stories in JRPGs that you need supplemental material in order to figure out what the hell's going on.
Kingdom
Um,
Hearts. Oh,
yeah. Well, Kingdom Hearts is the best example, but they did it with Final Fantasy 15 too.
oh, Final 15, yeah.
And Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 12, which has, but Final Fantasy 12 isn't really a Final Fantasy game. It's a Final Fantasy Tactics RPG. So I kind of let that slide because it was already in an established video game universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of let a lot of that shit slide. But you know, like fighting games that have combat systems that are different, not because you've developed a better way to make the fighting system more fluid or work better, but because you just want it to be different from Street Fighter 2,
Yeah.
which is stupid.
And
No, go ahead.
yeah, the problem is it's just I'm so used to the Street Fighter system that it's so hard to go to other games like either Mortal Kombat or King of Fighters isn't necessarily difficult to get into because it's it might be slightly different, but
Yeah,
it's
but
just a more complex game.
the only difference between King of Fighters is that you can jump from the foreground and the background, like you're moving between two different planes. But the button inputs and stuff like that are still Street Fighter 2.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's
yeah,
not like a completely different thing. It's a refinement of the formula that was already there.
yeah,
I'm looking at games like Eternal Champions, stuff like that.
yeah.
It's like, we just want to be different. I hate that. So, my first gaming trope that I wish would die an ignominious death is this is a JRPG thing because I see it a lot. JRPGs that use nonsensical language in their games.
Oh, I hate that. Final Fantasy 13.
Well, that's every JRPG that came out after 7. They're like, well, we can't just call this. So, like, the villain is named the so and so of the Machina. It's like, come on, man, can't you come up with some better names?
It's like it doesn't have to be a strange name. You can use normal stuff.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't. It's like my English teacher said back in high school. It's like, don't say there's a lot of precipitation in the sky. Just say it's raining. It's okay. Just say it's raining.
yeah.
Nobody's gonna
Well,
nobody's gonna fault you for saying it's
okay. Like, here's the thing. Okay, I have nothing against people using more advanced language to describe things because that shows that you are good at writing. My problem is when they start adding weird, like, because a lot of anime does this too. Like, okay, like I'll give an example, right? Like in let's see, okay, you watched all of Yu Yu Hakusho, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they have this part in Yu Yu Hakusho in the fourth arc or third arc where Yusuke goes into the double world and meets his great many times removed grandfather, the Mazaku. He finds out that the reason he killed Sensui is because he's got the bloodline of the atavism of the Mazaku. Now, first of all, that is a ridiculous fucking name. Why didn't they just say, look, you carry the distant bloodline of the Mazaku, who's the super demon? That's all they had to say. It's the atavism of the Mazaku. The only thing that saved it was that the Mazaku was voiced by the guy who did the voice for Piccolo. And I'm like, Yusuke will be okay. He's being trained by Piccolo. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with words is like, the problem with people that do that is it's like they're trying to show how smart and they are. They're trying to show how really good with words they are, rather than just saying, rather than asking, "What should I use this statement? Is this just
does it read well? Does it read well? Well, here's the thing. I have nothing against well written characters, places, descriptions in an RPG. For example, the localization for Earthbound is fucking amazing. The first Earthbound, Mother 2. That localization is not a word for word localization of the game from Japanese to English, but the people who localized it from Japanese to English were able to communicate what that game, the general gist of overall what's going on in that game. And that's what you want in a game. You don't want just some spun up gobbledygook, some wordy and verbose gobbledygook in order to basically make, because I mean, I knew kids who used to do this shit in high school and college where they would essentially use a lot of wordy and verbose words in order to make themselves feel smarter than they normally are. And what wound up happening is they wound up just looking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just fucking ridiculous. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'm turning off the webcam. I don't want people to see my face. Sometimes you got to sneeze. Sometimes you got to scratch your armpit. You know, I don't want people to see me while I'm doing that. But anyway, yeah, it's it's I don't like it. I don't like it, not one bit.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Like if you're going to use wordy and verbose language, you better have a damn good story, like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI, or Breath of Fire 1, Breath of Fire 2. You do some shit like that, okay. I'll let a lot of that shit go. But if you're just like spouting some wordy, verbose shit just to sound like you're writing something of import, then I'm gonna call you what you are, which is full of shit. So that trope needs to die. In my opinion, that video game trope needs to. It needs to be stuffed with a grenade and kicked out of an airplane so it explodes in midair. Um, any other gaming tropes you think that need to die that people just keep on?
The yearly releases of certain games, like the yearly releases of Assassin's Creed, that needs to go away.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone need that many Assassin's Creed games?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think so. I don't think we need every single game. Um, you know, I don't think we need a new game every day, or every year. Not everything needs to be an annual release. I mean, I'll take it a step further. I don't think we need a Call of Duty or a Madden or a FIFA every year.
Yeah.
I would rather just like, okay, do a 3 year release. Like basically, you know, release a Madden, and then 3 years after that, release like a new Madden with a new engine, all that stuff. And then every other year, you just do like maybe charge people 20 or $30 for an expansion or a season pass or some shit. I don't know, but charging people $60 for a brand new game that's functionally the same as the last game is just robbery.
Yeah.
It's robbery.
Oh, yeah.
It's theft.
Same thing with fighting games. This whole, we're going to have this fighting game, and then we're going to come out with season pass. We're only going to have 10 characters in this game. And then you have to buy the rest of the 50 characters individually. Eventually, we'll come out with the end of the year pass or the game of the year pass.
Yeah,
that won't be for another 2 years. So,
well, I mean,
how badly do you want to play this game?
Well, I mean, that's why they tell people don't buy certain games when they first come out. Wait, a little bit, because especially like Bethesda games. Like I see people complain. I see people complain about. I see people complain about games when they come out. They're like, man, this game was broken. Why would you buy the game when it first came out? Knowing the history of the studio that made this game or the publisher that put out this game. Like, why would you not wait until the other suckers took that bullet and then the guy's out of bullets and then you rush him? You don't be the first person out the door and then get mad.
Yeah.
But that's just my own personal opinion. Next, I have one more trope that I wish would die. Like literally, if I could put it in an airship and send it off into space, I'd do it. The next trope and last trope before we move on to the next topic that I want to see just die a horrific death is, well, I don't like uh, or at least I'm tired of games as a service.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you have something that would have done better as a single player game or just a standard multiplayer game, and you want to force games as a service into it. It's like that's a very niche. Like I know there's some games as a service that are killing it, like Overwatch or Fortnite or uh, you know, the other ones that are still kind of trying making money or whatever. But that is like you're basically like you're fighting for a piece of a pie that already has like three or four really big mofos eating it, you know? Like why jump into that ring? Like I don't get it. Like stop it. Stop getting greedy and trying to force something that doesn't need to be like that. Because not everything needs to be just like everything else, you know?
Yeah.
Which leads me to the next topic, which is while I was preparing for today's podcast, I got my new laptop, and I was looking for an extension cord, and I went into my storage room where I keep my games consoles because I mean I always tend to have storage extension cords in there. And I was like, man. And I was looking through my boxes of stuff, and I was like, my box of failed games. These are games that I thought were good, played them and realized they were shit, but I don't really sell my games, so I kept them even though they're terrible. And the first game on top of my box was Grandia 3. Grandia 3 was a game that was so bad it killed a franchise.
Wow.
Yes. Like Grandia before that had like 3 games. There was Grandia, Grandia 2, Grandia Extreme, and then Grandia 3. Grandia 3 is terrible. I mean, it is a steaming pile of dog shit. Matter of fact, let me look up the Grandia series. Yeah, there's Grandia. Okay. There's more than 3. There's Grandia Digital Museum, Grandia 2, Grandia Parallel Trippers, Grandia Extreme, Grandia 3, and Grandia Online. Grandia 3 killed the franchise, in my opinion.
Why was it so bad?
Well, I'll give you some guesses. What are the things that you look forward to in an RPG?
Obviously, the story.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure the story was terrible.
Well, the story was bad, but I mean, there are RPGs that have bad stories that people still play. So, what else? What else do you look forward to in an RPG?
The characters, the battle system.
The battle system, the characters. I mean, party members, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that a big thing about, especially like Grandia, where different party members have different attacks and different ways to attack, and figuring out how those party members' attacks and skills and stats and shit worked in synergy to take on tougher enemies, right?
Yeah.
You can say goodbye to that shit in this game.
Wow.
Yeah, in the beginning of Grandia 3, your character's party consists of your main character, his mom, and some pirate guy who looks like a faun or a satyr, depending on how you want to look at it. Okay? And literally, after you beat the first 2 dungeons, this guy's mom leaves him, goes off with the pirate, and you never see them for the rest of the damn game.
Wow.
It is one of the most what the fuck
Sounds like there was too many cooks in the kitchen with that game.
I don't know about that. I know the story was terrible. I know that the story was terrible. The gameplay was shit, and it killed the franchise.
Is that before or after the microtransactions?
Well, there are no microtransactions in Grandia 3. It was just really shit.
Oh. Ew, but yeah, that was a bad one. I'm just and sorry I came in late. Not feeling 100.
So, game is terrible. And then they tried to make an MMO. Here's a note, folks. Whenever a RPG series tries to turn itself into an MMO, be prepared for some bullshit.
Yeah.
I thought it was suckage.
Like basically, whenever you see an RPG franchise, like they take their franchise and they start trying to make it into an MMO, be afraid. Be very afraid. Cause I've like Final Fantasy. Like you cannot tell me
has two of those.
that Final Fantasy 11 and Final Fantasy 14 hold a candle to Final Fantasy single player role playing games at their best. You cannot tell me that. They might be fine MMOs, but as far as being close to what the RPGs are, no, not even. Here's how bad it is. Even a solid concept game that would actually, like, the idea behind it would make a good MMO, the MMOs suck. Like, The Old Republic. The Old Republic, when you compare it to KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, is shit.
Oof.
It is. There is no. But anyway, yeah. Are there any other games that you can remember that, like, killed a franchise? Like like Breath of Fire 5 killed Breath of Fire, the entire franchise?
I think I was done with Final Fantasy after Final Fantasy 13. At least I was, because I was always intrigued when a new Final Fantasy came out. But it's pretty much done after 13. It's like, yeah, this game's kind of this game's.
Personally, 9 and Mario Party.
I'd say Mario Party.
It shows how much tolerance I feel for the series, but oh boy.
I'd say Mario Party 2. The second one that came out of 64 killed the franchise because it's like
that's soon in. You're like, man, that first one was fire, but this one, no, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out. You're like Token in that Lord of the Rings knockoff, but it was a porno in South Park, and he goes and watches it, and he's like, you know what, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done with this. I'm out. You jumped off the bus. You got off the bus on Mario Party 2.
Yeah, it's just after 2, I was just kind of like, well, I don't really care about this franchise anymore. I think I'm good.
Boy, you're sour grapes. It took me till 8 to get off that ride.
I mean, for me, the thing that got me with Mario Party, like, I never owned Mario Party. I played them at people's houses. But Mario Party was never, like, what basically made me not care about Mario Party is that the games really didn't change from iteration to iteration. It basically was just more Mario Party. They didn't really innovate. There were no changes. They didn't refine the game, i.e. drop things that people didn't like and make it better. It's just the same thing over and over again. And I just, after a while, I just couldn't take it. Like, after a while, I was like, why am I playing this? Like I would go to people's houses when you
For
could
me,
go to
it's
people's houses, and they would be like, "Hey, you want to play Mario Party?" No, no, I don't.
you
How about we
you
play an
guys with your
actually? How about we actually play
anti-social energy.
a fun party game like Smash?
Like here's the thing. Okay, here are the list of games I would rather play over Mario Party. Actual physical Monopoly, which is a pain in the ass to play. Um, but that's kind of my
Oh no!
that's kind of my joke answer. In
I
all
had enough.
seriousness,
I had bloodshed on Monopoly. I'm not trying that one.
in all seriousness, the game that the party game that I would play more than uh, Mario Party, like as what I would consider a party game, Smash Brothers, Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort. Um, Hell, I'd even play those shitty mini games in Pokemon Stadium over Mario Party. Even though functionally they share a lot of those mini games are shared between Mario Party and Pokemon Stadium. But I'd rather play Pokemon Stadium over Mario Party. Um,
God, this is the reason why I remember. This is the reason why I remember why I got a little more social than you guys. In a
and
sense.
I mean, really, I mean, if I'm gonna play a party game, like a party, I'd rather play fighting games at a party, like Smash
definitely.
Brothers or Soul Calibur 2. I love playing Soul Calibur 2 in a party format because just beating the hell out of people with my favorite characters is just hilarious. It's fun to me. Or getting my ass kicked. Either way, it's a fun experience. Like playing as a female character and have someone beat you and then like them keep on kicking your body so that you keep on screaming. It's kind of funny. Or, playing GoldenEye. Even though GoldenEye with those 15 frames per second is terrible, it's still more fun than Mario Party. Actually, I'll add some more games. Any of the battle modes in any of the rare games from back in the day. So that's Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo Kazooie, Banjo Tooie, Donkey Kong 64. All those are more fun than Mario Party.
Banjo Kazooie had multiplayers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rare put multiplayer in all their games on the N64.
I mean, I know Banjo Tooie had multiplayer, but Banjo Kazooie?
My point is this: I would rather play those than Mario Party. Like that's literally.
Boy, you guys are real sour grapes.
No, I just
No, just don't like.
I just don't like Mario Party. That's it.
I don't like games that are super randomized. I mean, Mario Kart's fine, but
it's not even the randomization. It's just I don't like the lack of I don't find Mario Party fun. It's, it's subjective. Some things people find fun, other people's don't.
Subjective?
I don't find Mario Party fun.
If anything, I was about to say I didn't get every Mario Party, so if anything, that didn't sour me at all. I mean, I got at least one Mario Party per console. Though the one time that I got more than one per console, it sucked harder than the vacuum.
Yeah, I mean
that was 8 and 9.
Like here's the reason. The reason it's not that I'm not saying that there aren't people who have fun with Mario Party. I just don't if Mario Party isn't going to innovate the franchise, if they're not going to do anything new, it's just the same thing over and over and over again, then I have no reason to play it because, I mean, if you've played one Mario Party, you've played all of them. Because they haven't changed any of them enough to where you're like, well, you got to play this one. It did something different. No, not really. I mean, they don't have a story mode. They don't have an adventure mode. It's just basically the same thing over and over again. I can't... What incentive do I have to play that game?
There was a story mode in at least the others, which would be 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
even
but that story mode
6,
was basically just the
8.
normal game mode.
No, Not quite. You
It
have to play them back to back in order to earn the entire game, and
it was
or to earn
basically it was the same thing as the normal game mode, except it was designed for single player. That's it. Like you were fighting AI opponents. I'm just saying, I'm just not impressed with the. And I know it's designed to be like an electronic. It's designed to be a video game board game. I get that, but I've played better video game board games than Mario Party. People forget
yeah.
Back in the day, we had before Mario Party. Back in the day, they had video games you could play with your VCR. Okay, and one of them was called like the Crypt Keeper, or the
One of them
Haunted
was
House,
actually
or
gargoyles.
something like that. But it had this guy who was basically the game master on the VCR. And if you landed on the wrong thing, he would say, "Oh, you've got to go to the hole." and that's more fun than Mario Party. And that was a VCR board game. I'd rather play that than Mario Party. Because at least I could have fun picking on people who, got told they got to go to the hole. But yeah, are there any other games you guys are like, man, this killed the franchise? Like I was into it until this one point, and it just killed the franchise.
Donkey Kong Jungle Beat?
Really?
That almost killed the franchise.
That was a bad game to you?
Nah, I just, you just wanted another Donkey Kong platformer. So it's like, what is this? What's going on with this weird drum thing?
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I've played that game on the GameCube, and then I played the re-release on the Wii, and I can tell you that it's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all right. I just like, why aren't we getting a normal Donkey Kong platformer?
Oh, I mean, I can get where you're coming from, but I actually like that game. And obviously, it didn't kill the franchise because we got, I think a few years after that, we got Donkey Kong Returns.
Yeah.
Jewel, do you have any games you're like, man, this killed a franchise?
I said that for me, it was Mario Party 9.
Man, you stayed in there for all of that. You're a tough person.
Yes.
I jumped off well early.
Yes. I haven't gotten all the games in the series during one of those Mario Parties per generation.
I mean, I've said this before.
But the time I got to. Yeah.
I mean, I've said this before. I never bought Mario Party for any of my consoles, but I had friends who had Mario Party, and they would basically play it. Like, you go to their house, and they're like, okay, let's play a video game, and it's like, okay, what do you want to play? And they would have Mario Party, Smash Brothers, some type of more core fighting game like Dead or Alive or Soul Calibur or Tekken, something like that. And it's like Mario Party was the game that they would bring in when their younger siblings wanted to play because you had to have more skill to play Smash Brothers or Soul Calibur or, the fighting games. So they'd bring in Mario Party because anyone could basically get down and play that game.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm the one that had to be the party person, and well, I have variety for everyone that was in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I've done that, but what I feel about it is when people came to my house, it's like, look, I'm gonna have 4 games that we're gonna be rotating, right? I'm having Soul Calibur, Smash Brothers. This was during the GameCube times. That's when I had a lot of people come to my house. Soul Calibur, Smash Brothers, Rogue Squadron 2, and the 4th one would be a single-player game that you could switch out the controllers with and let other people play it, and that would vary. But those 3 games: Soul Calibur 2, Smash Brothers Melee. So I get why people love that game because that game is really fun to play in a party atmosphere. I would argue and say Melee is more fun to play with a group of friends than 4 Ultimate to me.
Uh,
Because the cheap gameplay.
thank you for how much I hate Melee again.
the cheap the cheap gameplay is what made that game so much fun. When someone you knew you had someone's ass and they'd pull a cheap ass move from out of their ass and dodge it. Mm.
You Melee assholes are always bragging about it. It's it's not a feature. It's a malfunction.
It's a glitch. I get it. I totally get it. But still doesn't change the fact it was fun to play that game.
Yeah.
It was fun.
That's the thing that brings out bloodshed. That happened
And I
to me
enjoyed
on my own birthday. So excuse me for not having any fun.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Basically my favorite thing in
I'm giving you a middle finger for that. Seriously.
The thing I enjoyed doing in Melee back in the day was I would play as Donkey Kong, who in Melee Donkey Kong was faster than he was in the original 64, but he was still kind of slow. And I would just
He's still that fast.
Well, they made it with each iteration. They've made him faster than he was in the previous one. Like he was like in Melee, he was faster than he was in 64. In Brawl, he was faster than he was in Melee. In 4, he was faster than he was in Brawl. Like they keep on making Donkey Kong faster, but also not as heavy as he used to be, which kind of sucks because he could get knocked farther. Because Donkey Kong used to be one of the heaviest characters in the game. He could take a lot of damage before he could knock him off.
Well, there's other characters that got more weight too.
Yeah, which I'm not cool with because I mean gorillas are friggin' huge, but whatever. I still am really good with playing as DK, but yeah, I just beat the shit out of people with Donkey Kong. It was great. Or my other favorite character, Link. Yeah, I'm a Link fan. I said it. Link. Or beat up people with Ganondorf when he was just a Captain Falcon clone. Even back then in Melee, he was still a Captain Falcon.
In that case, I enjoyed making you heavyweights cry like anime fans. I'm a Kirby fan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty good with Kirby too. As a matter of fact, the only characters that I'm good with, but I refuse to use in competitive play are Pokemon, especially Pikachu and Jigglypuff. I hate those 2 Pokemon, but aside from that.
I use Pokemon, so excuse me.
Yeah,
So if
I can't do it.
I don't use the meme, and if anything else, I don't use it. I don't use F and Incineroar. I got beef with that Pokemon.
I liked Mewtwo in Melee. Mewtwo was a fun Pokemon to use. Because his special attacks were ridiculous. His Shadow Ball, even his throw was just like, this is ridiculous. He's like Ness on steroids. I love this guy. But yeah, so anyway, we kind of got off topic, but that happens on the podcast sometimes. So any other games do you guys think just killed the franchise? You were like, man, I was down with it until this one game, and I can't take it anymore. Okay, I'll say one more. In light of the leak that happened at Capcom, and like apparently they're going to be making a remake of this game. Final Fight Streetwise killed the Final Fight franchise.
Streetwise?
But apparently, well, think about it. There was Final Fight. Like, there were 4 Final Fight. Well, technically 5. There was Final Fight, Final Fight 2, Final Fight 3, Final Fight Guy. That's 4. There was Final Fight 1 for the Game Boy Advance. That's 6. There was Final Fight for the PlayStation, which was basically like a fighting game. But it wasn't that bad. It was actually kind of fun. It was just not what people really wanted. So that's 7. And then Final Fight Streetwise comes out on the PS2. And that game killed the franchise.
I
Killed
thought
it.
it would be the. I thought it'd be the attempt of going 3D that killed it, but
Well, that's what Final Fight Streetwise is. It's the 3D game.
yeah, it's just that thing that I thought it was for the N64, so that really bit me.
Well, there was a game that they were making, that some developers at Capcom America were making, that was going to be Final Fight for the third 3D, and it wound up becoming that that weird ass beat 'em up on the GameCube and the PS1, Fighting Force. But come on, Fighting Force was shit. That's not a good game.
I was saying that should sign to abort.
Yeah, but Fighting Force wasn't a Final Fight game. So basically, Final Fight Streetwise came out in 2006. Okay? Think about this. This game was so bad, it killed a franchise for 14 plus years. Only now are there rumors that they're making a Final Fight game. So that's where I'm like, you know what? That's ridiculous. They killed a franchise. Killed it.
Revivals do happen, though. Have fun there.
Well, allegedly, because of that leak that hacker did, there will apparently be a Final Fight remake. In what form this takes, I don't know. Hopefully, I hope Capcom learned their lesson and see what the .emu people did with Streets of Rage, and do something like that. But who knows? It's Capcom. Capcom loves messing up easy things. But that being said, let's keep it moving to our next topic. So, we recently discovered that 98% of the people playing this game left it. And Square Enix and the people over there at Digital Extremes, or whatever those people are, they made the new Deus Ex games. Their plan to get people back on board to playing the Avengers game is to bring out Hawkeye and female Hawkeye.
Just make it free to play. You'll get a lot of people playing for about a week.
You know, this is the part where I thought that I dropped in on. I thought I dropped in when you guys were aiming at Capcom Square Enix for the disaster of Marvel.
Now we're talking about it now. What can Square Enix do to save the Avengers game? Thoughts and seriousness. I don't mean like just shitting on them, because I don't want to see people get fired and people lose their jobs.
I'm sorry, but this thing is so bad. It needs what happened to Final Fantasy 14.
A complete overhaul?
It needs a
yes.
All right.
Either that or a free to play model.
Well, I don't see anything inherently wrong with free to play. I know some people are like, free to play. It's like, look, listen, okay?
Free to play is a double-edged sword. I'm going to say that right now.
I'm not going to say it's a double-edged sword, because there are some fun and enjoyable free-to-play games. It's just like, with free-to-play, you just automatically know.
I say it's a double-edged sword because there's some things that are obviously, but also, you have to do something in order to
It's only
to be free to play.
It's only a double-edged sword if your free-to-play model is complete garbage. Like, Path of the Exile is a free-to-play game, but people generally like that game.
Yeah.
Because their models.
What about Valorant?
Or Warframe, which is a free-to-play game, but it has cool shit going on. Like, here's the thing. Like I said, I have nothing against free-to-play as long as what you can pay for and get doesn't is it so much better than what people who just play the game naturally can get? You know what I mean? Like if you pay for the little extra bennies, you're getting maybe 10-15% ahead of people who don't. That's acceptable, okay? But if like basically people can pay for shit and just be unstoppable, then I have a problem. So it depends on how you balance the microtransactions to how microtransactions affect the gameplay. If microtransactions affect the gameplay in such a way that the people who pay for the microtransactions get a little bit ahead, but people who are playing the game naturally and not doing a lot of microtransactions or none can still kind of be somewhat competitive, then I'm not against it. Because at the end of the day, it is free to play. They didn't get $60 from you. Those people deserve, the people who made the game need to have some type of revenue coming in. I understand that. People don't make games for free. People need to be paid, because even if the game is free, the people who made the game have bills to pay, So I'm not against that. But as far as the Avengers game, I think that the best way they can do to save the Avengers game is to
I said restart all over again.
I mean, like, okay, look. They already lost $50 million that they'll admit to. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Like,
I was saying, so did Final Fantasy 14.
Ain't nobody getting a bonus this Christmas.
So if anything, that's probably the.
Yeah. So what I would do is, if I was Square Enix, I would push Hawkeye and female Hawkeye to the end of the queue, and put Black Panther up first, because Black Panther is still really popular, and Spider-Man. Push those characters out first, because those characters are popular. That'll get people back on board. Start putting out some substantial gameplay content. Okay. Charge people for it or do it for free. I don't care what you do, but substantial gameplay content. If this is in the form of new raids, a new faction with new enemies, I don't care. But people need a reason to come back. Really make a thing of it. Have like Black Panther month. Maybe push Black Panther out in February and call it Black Panther Pride Month. Then you can piggyback on the two things. That'll get people on board. I know some people be like, "You're commercializing it." No, make it Wakanda forever and all that shit. Really push it. Really go to town with it. I know Chadwick Boseman died, but T'Challa's still around in the comics. So, and this is based on the comic book versions of these characters, not the movie version of these characters, which is a smart move. Really be aggressive in doing community manager type shit in order to get people back on board. If they can do that and lower the price of the game to like $30, because $60 is too much for what you get. And the sad thing about this game is that it probably would have been okay had they released it earlier and not made it into a live service model. Like, had they made the game, because from people that I've seen, from reviews that I've seen of the game, and from people that I've talked to, played the game and liked it, the single player sections that are about Kamala Khan are actually pretty good, which makes it seem to me that this game was initially going to be a single player game. And then Square Enix came in and said, no, it's got to be live service. So that's why the extra development time, that's why the game went over budget, that's why the game took longer to come out, because they literally maybe got 50-60% through with the game, and then Square Enix said, you have to scrap some of this and then add live service shit into it.
Yeah.
So this is a Frankenstein's monster of a game. Or should I say Frankenstein?
Well, since you bring up the single player, maybe add some more single player stuff into it as well to keep those people happy that enjoy the single player game. Get them back online, at least,
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree. Like, basically, I mean, in its inception, I think this game should have just been a single player game. Square Enix got greedy. And we're like, well, we're going to make it into a live service game. How can we lose money? It's the Avengers. And because they basically, like, here's how Square Enix shot themselves in the face. because if this game had stayed single player, it probably would have came out at the same time as Endgame, and it would have had less development time, and it would have sold gangbusters because people were really into the Avengers at that time. The fact that they waited.
Yeah. See, what they could have done, like you said, is come out with a single player during Endgame.
Yeah.
And then come out with the multiplayer aspect of it later, like GTA did.
Yeah, and actually have more content for the single player and for the multiplayer and stuff like that. And then people would have said, "Hey, I like the single player. I wonder what they're going to do with the multiplayer." No, they Square Enix literally shot themselves in the ass. I'm not getting mad at the developers, but the publisher, Square Enix, they fucked up on this one. I'm sorry, they got greedy and shot themselves in the ass, and I don't feel sorry for them. I know some people. Well, look, listen. And here's the thing. I'm a Marvel fan. I want there to be good Marvel games out there. I want people to be able to play, Marvel-inspired stuff. But, I mean, if you're going to put out shit and then act mad when people call you out on it, then, I can't accept it. I can't accept it. So are there any other do you have any other ideas to save the Avengers game, or shall we move on to the news stories and then
For me, as I said, you're going to need a serious overhaul for that. But otherwise, I think that's near beyond saving at this point.
Okay, well, that means people are going to get fired and lose their jobs. I feel sorry for the developers, because the developers are literally getting shit on. People are like, this game's terrible, when you can clearly see from the single player versus the multiplayer where there was a good game there, and Square Enix came in and forced the developers to add shit that didn't jive with the game they were trying to make. And now those people are getting shit on and punished because of Square Enix's bad management. And I'm not, I don't like seeing people get shafted when it's not their fault. But whatever. So let's get to these news stories, and then we'll get to nominations of our a-hole conglomerates of the year and our unpopular opinions, and wrap things up. So the first news story: the Yakuza series has cracked 14 million in sales.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty good for a niche gaming franchise that literally used the same engine for like 5 games, for the first 5 games, and then they upgraded to a new engine after the 5th game, and then have been reusing that engine. Like, they're really efficient at reusing the same engine over and over and over and over and over again. Because that's how they make money. Reusing assets over and over again. Kind of like how Squaresoft used to be back in the day, where they just kept on reusing the same engine for different games. So this means that the Yakuza series might eventually, they might port the entire series to PC, which is going to make some money for Sega. Everyone keeps on saying Sega doesn't know how to have successful franchises. They do, just not Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, I said it. I'm not a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, so I don't care. Our next little bit of news: Greedfall has sold over 1 million copies and is getting an expansion.
Greedfall?
Greedfall.
What's that about?
Greedfall is that game that came out from Spiders. Spiders is the developer that made basically Spiders is the developer that made all those games that were kind of like aping BioWare games, but they didn't quite have the budget to pull it off, so it just wound up looking kind of shit. Like their parody, their ape off of Dragon Age, like the Dragon Age Origins is Mars Warlogs, which is terrible. And then they made a sequel to that that's kind of like an ape off of Mass Effect, but the budget isn't quite there, so it's kind of terrible. Like their games are always like, well, it's kind of like this, but not quite, and our budget isn't good enough to make it like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like Greedfall is basically like Dragon Age Inquisition, but like in the age of imperialism and ships and shit.
Yeah.
Apparently it was pretty good, and it's on sale right now on Steam for $19.99. It was when it first came out, it was like $39.99, so that's actually a pretty good deal. Steam and GOG, $20 for a pretty good little game.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. Other little bit of news. Actually, I'm not going to talk about the cyberpunk porn parody, but it's there. This shit must be popular.
Enough said.
Look, that's how you know you made it if you're a video game, when they start making porn parodies of you. For a game that hasn't even come out yet. That
As
is,
I said,
you've hit the big time, my friend.
said.
You've hit the big time.
Yeah.
There are two op-ed pieces here, but I don't think we'll go over it because I don't feel like it. Immortals Phoenix Rising. I was really interested in this game until I saw it and I realized it's just a slightly better version of Breath of the Wild with more shit to do. I was like, I was really looking forward to this game, but no.
I was gonna say some people are fans of Breath. Remember that.
I understand that. Just Breath of the Wild is just kind of boring to me, so I don't want to play a game that's aping one of my least favorite Legend of Zelda games. Uninterested. And in some sad news, or good news, depending on how you look at it, a Nintendo hacker has been sentenced for 3 years for hacking and also possession of child pornography.
Yeah. Oh, well, he deserves to be in jail. Too bad.
Now, here's the thing.
Have,
as far as the hacking goes, I'm like, damn, that's fucked up. The child pornography, I'm just like, for real? It wasn't enough that you were hacking the Nintendo network. You had to be getting underage pictures of children. That ain't right. Oh well.
I was gonna say, way to double down on your troubles, buddy. Hope you got plenty of soap.
Well, I mean, the thing is just like how they're stacking up things on this kid. Sorry, young man. Some of it seems a little bit too convenient.
yeah.
Like it's like, oh, and we got him for child pornography. Is this really child pornography, or did he have some, like when he was 16 and he was with a girl that was 16 and had some pictures of her in compromising situations and still had it?
Oh, that you know what? That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
like, okay, there's different definitions of child pornography. Like, okay, if you're a 35-year-old man and you've got pictures of 12-year-olds on your thing and they aren't your kids, but someone else's kids, and you're using it for sexual gratification, that's child pornography. If you're a 16-year-old boy and your girlfriend's 16 and she sent you a picture of her doing something and you kept it on your phone, is it child pornography? I don't know.
if you're like 19 and your girlfriend's like 16 or 17, and you got some, you know,
That's where,
uncomfortable.
yeah, that's where the
Because
law hasn't quite caught up to the reality.
yeah,
of
that's
the
weird.
situation.
Yeah, because I know plenty of girls in high school that were dating, that were like 16 dating 19-year-olds. It's just not
You
like
know,
whatever.
so I mean, I'm just saying, like,
That's a
this
dangerous line already.
this shit is a little too. Okay, look, he was hacking. Nintendo let him off with a slap on the wrist the first time. Then he did the shit again 2 more times. So now they're just finding extra shit to keep his ass in jail. Now, I'm not saying that he was right to hack because he shouldn't have been. Like, here's the thing. Let me let you know a little secret. If you're going to hack a console, hack some shit that no longer is commercially viable. Because you're not fucking with the company's money, okay? Like, if you own a Wii and you hack it to do all types of shit that a Wii was never meant to do, no one's gonna give a fuck because Nintendo isn't supporting the Wii anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna have the Nintendo people knock on your door. Hey, I heard you had your Wii playing DVDs. Yeah, fuck you, bitch. Like no one's gonna care. But you know, when you hack them for their Wii, if you're hacking a Wii U, well, they aren't commercially supporting the Wii U either. But if you're hacking the Switch, you got a problem. There's gonna be some bloodshed. There'll
Yeah.
be some problems there. So
Yeah.
he fucked up. I got to pay the consequences. I mean, they're clearly. I mean, I'm just saying. Like, here's the thing. I haven't seen the briefs. I don't know what the charges are. I haven't seen the evidence. But it just seems that there's a lot of convenient
I was about to
charges there.
say that this is before putting it into saying insult to injuries or like. I'm just saying that
it's just a little too convenient. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little too convenient. That's all I'm saying.
He kind of rolled into his own messes. It feels like he rolled into some of it.
I just think it's a little too convenient. Just some of those charges are a little too, not the hacking charges, but the child pornography. I'm like, just a little too convenient. But that's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah, I was thinking that he probably just goofed up or used somebody else's and that caused a whole world of problems.
Here's what I'm saying, okay? If you're a dude 16, 17 and you have a girlfriend that's 16 or 17 or 16, you both are 16 and she sent him some provocative photos. He kept that shit, which some dudes are wont to do. I mean, I personally wouldn't be like, if I was that age. Like now, if I kept some shit from my girlfriend, if I had a girlfriend that sent me shit like that from 16, as a 34-year-old, that is very pedophile-y. That's a little pervy. But if you're like 20 something and your girlfriend was 16 4 years ago, but now she's of age, but these photos are from when she was 16. I'm like, okay, like, is that pornography? It's a very.
That's a gray area.
Is that child pornography? Technically, she's a child, but you were a child when you received the photos. I mean, should you get rid of them because she was 16? I mean, what type of fucking goody is that? Your girlfriend sends you a picture of her doing something, and you're like, oh snap, you're 16, I'm 16. This is child pornography.
I was about to say that's a questionable gray area.
Because technically speaking, if you're 17 years old, in some states where 16 is the age of, 16 is the age of legality, but your girlfriend's 15 and a half, go with her. Technically, her parents call the police on you. Technically, that's statutory rape. You could be called a sex criminal. You see where it gets very kind of.
As I said, that's a gray area.
And that's why I'm kind of like, they're like, yeah, he also had child pornography. Well, I mean, could you describe what exactly he had?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to just jump on. Like, it's bad enough he was hacking, but to throw, he's also he's also gonna have to register as a sex offender. So then he can't live any fucking place. It's like, I mean, shit, man. Whatever. That's not only is that kicking someone while they're down, that's pulling out your dick and peeing on them. And not as a kinky thing. I mean, just total disrespect. You know, just this is what I think of you. Fuck you. You know.
That's putting salt on the wound.
Basically, yeah. It's a total just like, this is what I think of you. Fuck you. That's basically where it comes from. So with that being said, it's time to get to nominate our a-hole conglomerate of the year and some unpopular opinions. So let's get to our nominations. I want to go first just because I already thought of mine and I have a good reason for it. My a-hole conglomerate of 2020 is Google. Google is my a-hole conglomerate of 2020 because they had a perfectly good service that worked, Google Hangouts, that they killed in order to bring us Stadia. And not only is Stadia not working, but it hasn't gotten any better in the year that it's been out. In some ways, it's gotten worse. And here's how ass backwards Google is. Their newest Chromecast, their newest Android smart TVs, Android integrated smart TVs, their newest Android tablets, don't fucking can't use Stadia. So their big thing that they were like, yeah, this is the future, yeah, doesn't use the shit. And before people say, oh, you don't like cloud gaming, I don't hate cloud gaming. I use cloud gaming in my own household. I have Steam Link. I stream Steam games from my main PC to my laptop quite a bit. And my smartphone. I have nothing against cloud gaming. But here's the thing, just like anything else, if you're going to come forward, you better come correct. And Google did not come correct at all. The opposite of coming correct. Like, literally, it's like, well, come through the front door and sit down at the desk. They smashed through the window, landed in a bed of nails, stabbed themselves in the eye, and then draped themselves over the fish tank. It's like that. You did literally everything you could do wrong from what my original instructions were. That's what you did, Google. And they have the nerve to act like everything is fine. You know, and for people who are going to say, well, why is this a problem? Because there's an example of a company handling their cloud gaming correctly. And then you have Google. Because you look, listen, I fucking hate Microsoft, but they have been nailing it with their Xbox Game Pass and xCloud.
Yeah.
$15 a month, $180 a year. Sorry, no. $180 a year. And you get, you can play xCloud on any device that you own. Xbox, Xbox Series S, Xbox, the new Xbox, your PC, your laptop, your Microsoft tablet. You can play $15 a month. You get access to a large library of games from AAA all the way down to indies. $15 a month. Which means if you're more of a casual gamer and you don't really care about, not owning shit, you can basically pay $15 a month and have access to a huge library of games. $15 a month, cloud gaming, no problem. That's amazing. What did Google do? Nothing close to that.
I was going to say, nothing close unless you consider it basically a train wreck. And it's still a train wreck.
Yeah.
And thank you. I got nothing else. I got nothing.
And like I said, before people are like, well, you wanted cloud gaming to fail. I don't want cloud gaming. Here's the thing, okay? The more people who get into something, that get into a hobby, the better the hobby gets. Yeah, for a little bit it gets casualized and watered down, but if you have a correct turnover of those casual fans into more core fans, it makes the franchise or series or hobby better. Case in point, Star Trek. Like, I'm 34 years old. I was not old enough to watch the original Star Trek because it came out in the 60s. But I watched the reruns, the syndications when I was a little kid, and then I also watched the Next Generation, which started in '87 when I was a little kid, and that made me into a casual fan. And then over time, as I got more into it, I became a core fan. And now I'm really into Star Trek. Not new Star Trek, but the stuff that I grew up with, the old stuff. I love that shit. There are people who did not get into Star Wars until the prequel trilogy. All right. And then they went back and they watched the original trilogy and they got into that. And then they started reading the comics and reading the books. And these are the same people who like the Clone Wars cartoon and Rebels and all that type of shit. Those people were converted from casual into core fans. There's nothing wrong with that. That made the franchise better when older generation could talk to the new generation about how it felt to watch those films and how they like certain little trivia and shit that they didn't know. That made it better. I want, like, if cloud gaming becomes a major thing, more people will get into gaming, and less people will think of it as being just this weird thing that basement dwelling people do. It'll become just a normal part of life, like the internet. Or smartphones.
Yeah, I still, I still think, I still think cloud gaming is a terrible thing. Since you're being at the mercy of the internet and
the technology isn't
our
there.
internet, so yeah.
Yeah, the technology isn't there yet. Unless you live in a major population center that has the infrastructure, you're not going to be able to use cloud gaming.
Well, most devices are at the mercy of the internet anyway. It's called DRM.
What?
I said most devices are at the mercy of the internet anyway. It's called DRM.
Yeah, and also just general infrastructure. And throttling your stuff. Because here's the thing: I've seen people who have great internet connections, like the best that money can buy, and their internet is still like not good enough for Stadia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because these cable companies don't want to spend the money to have, they don't want to spend the money to build a better infrastructure.
Well, here's the thing. If you look at cities like state and local principalities that have actually made there, because there's some cities and states and towns that have actually went and spent the money to have like a state-run competitor to the local internet infrastructure. And those people have great internet because when you run internet like it's a infrastructure thing, like water, gas, electricity, it's run better than when you run it commercially. It's amazing. Yeah. If they treat it, because if you look at other countries that have internet as like a public utility, it's run way better than commercially. Like I would rather someone say like allocate, you live in a state or a city or whatever, you live in a city, and they're like, okay, a part of your taxes that you spend, we're going to put fiber optics in your neighborhood. We're going to run a fiber optic line. If you want fiber optics, we'll like charge you, $20-$30 a month, and you'll have fiber optic internet in your house for $30 a month, or even 50. Shit, I think that's worth it. That's fair. that is fair. I would like. Here's the thing. I don't mind.
But if anything, this is the reason why I'm really fully and stupidly and undeniably against Google Stadia and all kinds of services like it. Because if anything, that you're at the mercy basically of the internet, and even if you got the best connection, if the internet goes down, some of your stuff is going to be lost to it. if you are dependent on the internet.
That is
Reason
true.
why I'm a consoler.
And that's why. Well, I mean, the thing is that even consoles today are increasingly internet dependent.
Here's
not
the
the
thing.
not the Switch so much, but there are some games on the Switch that if it doesn't have an update, it's gonna play like ass.
I was
Um,
gonna say that some games don't need the internet, like the solo players, like the Cadence of Hyrule, and
yeah,
that's
that's true.
actually a pretty good game without internet.
But there are games, uh, you know, yeah. But what if you paid for the DLC for that game, and you want it, and you don't have internet? You don't have it. You're just shit out of luck, you know. Because they're not going to physically release another cartridge just for the DLC. You have to download it. If you don't have internet, you're not going to be able to play that DLC. Or if there's a major game-breaking bug,
someone can actually pull that out.
If there's a major game-breaking bug and there's no internet so that they can download it to fix it, you're pretty much SOL. So
yeah,
that's the price you pay for having
that's
games
the only time
be
I would
more
actually
technologically
say that.
advanced.
Yeah, but if anything, at least this explains why why I'm stuck more console than going PC, because I'd rather have a game that has to be on the internet, even though there are some games that do, than to depend on the internet entirely to play your game.
I mean, there's the only games where you absolutely need to be connected to the internet to play on PC, or is if you're playing a one of those DRM
MMORPG competition game.
Well, the game where it's setting up an instance while you're playing the game, like an MMO. But I mean, even if you play an MMO on a home console, they're doing that. You need an internet connection to play that game, so that's not like a PC only thing. And now that the Switch has cloud only games coming to it, you're damn sure gonna need an internet connection to play those. Or else you're not gonna play that game.
To me, it's like
these aren't keeping a distance from those.
What?
It's like, why even develop the game for the Switch in the first place?
Because the Switch has like 60 million units sold. It's the highest selling 9th gen console right now, with the biggest install base and money. Money can make all types of shit happen, which is amazing because the Wii was the highest selling 7th gen console, and yet companies would go out of their way to not put games on the system. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how selective their ability to port games to a system is, depending on the generation. But that's just my own opinion. So yeah, Google is my nomination for asshole conglomerate of the year. Does anyone have any other conglomerates? They're like, you know what? These people are a-holes. F them.
I would have to say Google as well.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
Congratulations. Yeah. We got a winner.
What, you're going with Google too, Jewel?
Yep.
Oh man, a trifecta of most. Well, I'm gonna have to add another one in here so it's not just a runaway.
You're gonna have to put in somebody convincing to do that for me.
Konami.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for card game pain.
I'm adding Konami because Konami basically has just been trash all year long.
I was gonna say they've been quiet trash. So everything I thought they'd at least be out of sight.
No, you forget early this year they released that Castlevania Pachinko game. No, wait, no. They pulled the plug off of a Castlevania handheld game that had microtransactions. But the reason they pulled the plug off of it wasn't because of the microtransactions. It's because the developers of the game made a game that you really didn't need the microtransactions in order to play the game. And so they weren't making enough money off of microtransactions. So they pulled the plug on the game. Instead of just basically maybe pulling the game and polishing it up and putting it on home consoles and the Switch, which would have made more sense. you know. And Konami is just sitting on all of these awesome IPs and doing fuck all with them, which is just a crime within and of itself. So for that reason,
Yeah,
Konami is another asshole conglomerate of the year.
yeah. That's the funny thing. I tried to evade them because I already got beef with them in another section of the gaming world. So, if anything, I actually tried to evade that.
Yeah, I don't even consider them. I know they're the Yu-Gi-Oh people, but I don't even really think of Yu-Gi-Oh all that much. I'm not like, like I played Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. I don't really do it now. So now that's it. It's time to get to unpopular opinions, and then we can wrap things up. Who wants to go first with their unpopular opinion?
Huh. I probably am gonna get a little bit odd because I actually mentioned some. I actually was a fan in a sense of this, but here goes. I still think that there's a case for having board game video games, but the caveat is it's not always easy trying to make it fun because even if it's original, like the Mario Party series in a sense, it's not always going to be a home run.
Fair enough.
You get what I'm saying, right?
I understand. Kanoshi, do you have an unpopular opinion?
No, not today.
All right. Okay, I have one. I kind of broached it earlier in another topic, but I'm gonna add it again. Here's my unpopular opinion. I don't actually dislike. Um, I know I talk mad shit about Sony, but I don't dislike the PlayStation. I think like as a brand, I think the PlayStation is overrated for a lot of things. But I think when it comes to JRPGs, it was a really quality console. Um, and since I'm a JRPG fanboy, that means that a lot of JRPGs like I could only play on the PlayStation. And I'm not talking just Final Fantasy, like the Square Enix, the SquareSoft ones. I mean, like Dragon Quest Seven, um, Jade Cocoon, Azure Dreams, Suikoden, Kudelka. Um,
I'm surprised you didn't go to Shin Megami Shin Megami Tensei or
yeah,
the
I was about to
Persona
say
series.
Persona. Yeah, Persona. Um, Hell, even Digimon is a great series on the PlayStation and PlayStation 2. It's a shame that the PS3 kind of moved away from JRPGs.
Yeah, I was very disappointed by that.
Yeah, like I think we only got like two quality JRPGs on the PS3, and both of them kind of sucked. The Tales series, which isn't really that good on the PS3. The PS3 era Tales games suck, as a matter of fact. Mostly because they're mostly forgettable. um, but yeah, like the PlayStation, like I'm not like a PlayStation fanboy, but I do love the RPGs on the system. And I stand by that statement. I know some people are going to get angry, but I love those RPGs. Okay? That's my weakness. RPGs are my weakness. Love them. So that being said, uh, that's my unpopular opinion. We're done. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Just a comment on your when you think RPGs may be my favorite my favorite games type, but it doesn't mean I know not to be pulled into a certain console because of it.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to play RPGs in the fifth gen, you only had the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Color, which had a lot of RPGs, but they were like handheld RPGs, which by virtue of them being on a handheld, there's a certain limited scope. I mean, there's the Sega Saturn, but there's practically no RPGs on the Sega Saturn. The only place you could really go for JRPGs was the PlayStation.
No, even I have standards.
That's all you could go. That's all you had. Although to be fair, I never owned a
If anything,
PlayStation. I had a PS2. That I had one of those fat original
I
PS2s
didn't
that were backwards compatible. So
depend on,
I didn't have a PlayStation.
that's the funny thing. I didn't depend on PlayStation 2 for RPGs.
Well, I mean that's the thing because there are some really good RPGs on the PS2. There's like Rogue Galaxy. There's uh, Dark Cloud, Dark Cloud 2. Well, Dark Cloud 2 kind of sucks.
Never
So
heard of. So
I'll take that off the back burner. There's Dragon Quest 8. There's Final Fantasy 12, which is actually pretty good. Final Fantasy 10. 10-2 sucks, but 10's pretty good. There's Legend of Legaia Dual Saga, which is pretty good.
never heard of Legend of Jagaya.
Legend of Legaia Dual
Yeah,
Saga.
never
Well,
heard.
if you ever get a chance to play it, it's really good. I mean, there's some really good games, really good RPGs. I mean, the thing about PlayStation is that there's some good RPGs, and then there's shovelware RPGs that were trying to ride the RPG coattails of better RPGs. A lot of shovelware RPGs.
Yeah, yeah. The only RPG that really stood out to me is with the PlayStation 2 that even if I was an RPG fan that I could that I couldn't honestly hold back in a sense was the Grandia games. Well,
Yeah,
Grandia 1 and 2.
well, Grandia 1 and 2 were pretty good. They were also on PC, so there's that. Grandia Extreme was on the PS2. Grandia 3 is the game that killed that franchise, though, so I kind of... I had all the Grandia games that were on the PS2, including Grandia 3, and that game was terrible. It was a mediocre piece of shit. Star Ocean was also on the system. That's pretty good, too. Star Ocean...
That never was around where I was.
What, Star Ocean?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So that's the end of this podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. I still have to get everything together so I can have the little title placards because I, updated my OBS. So anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up? Yes, no, maybe so.
I think we're. And again, sorry I'm late. I wasn't. At least I'm here.
That's okay. Glad you could join us. So that's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace. Good night. If you want to get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com. You can reach me on Twitter at Matthew Wesley at mrredfox91. You can leave you can try and get in touch. You can become a member of our Discord, etc., etc. It's all in the bottom.
Almost apply, of course.
Yeah, it's all at the bottom. There are certain rules to be in the Discord. We don't do hate speech or anything like that. So with that being said, peace, good night, and
And don't forget to